must have amnesia. They forgot that I'm him. Last guy who ran off on the pack got choked out by some Givenchy gloves. The last thing he ever saw was the price tag on them.
To those of you who have recently beaten Oblivion again thanks to the remake, or remaster as they call it, you might be wondering how we got from Patrick Stewart, Sean Bean and Okato to Titus Mede II in Skyrim. Well, it's not as straightforward as it sounds. While the hero of Kvatch is busy pampering Pelennor and becoming Sheogorath, Cyrodiil can't seem to catch a break and spends the next couple of centuries getting the stuffing punched out of it. Now this is universally bad for a lot of people, especially those in the Empire, but one family manages to benefit from it. The Medes, spelled M-E-D-E. And not like those drinks that Nords have over milk. While the Septims fell, the Mede Dynasty rose. Martin Septim was the last of the Septim line, and when he died, he was replaced by Okato, who took the title of Potentate after the main story, and is the leader of the Empire going forward. This is a good choice, considering that Okato is the type of elf and can live a very long time. The problem is, Okato's reign was pretty short-lived, at least for an Altmer. In the 14th year of the 4th era, which is also 14 years after Oblivion ends, Okato is assassinated and the Elder Council splits, causing a civil war known as the Storm Crown Interregnum. This is pretty bad timing, considering that Black Marsh leaves the Empire without anyone really doing anything to stop them, and the Thalmor beginning their plot to eventually form the Third Aldmeri Dominion and rival the Empire. Speaking of the Thalmor, they're the ones who most likely assassinated Okato. Because if you look at any bad event that happens during the 4th era, people immediately assume it's the Thalmor. To be fair, this is something that the Thalmor would have been capable of, and was the perfect play to weaken the Empire. I mean, it makes more sense than the Thalmor managing to make the moons vanish, but still, the Thalmor gained power. Cyrodiil was busy losing it as all its high-ranking lords fought for the Ruby Throne. We don't know a massive amount about the Stormcrown Interregnum, but we do know that it resulted from the Elder Council's fracture and caused a lot of betrayals, ruthless fighting, and a healthy amount of plotting. It's like Elder Scrolls' very own Game of Thrones plot, I guess. It's kind of like a war between 5 kings, except no one's a king. And there's less incest, I think. Although, I'm not sure how much of the rest of Tamriel got involved. We know that Skyrim, Hammerfell, High Rock, and Morrowind kind of remained with the Empire for some time after this. But I'm not sure if they tried to push with one of their own to be Emperor at this point. I am under the assumption that this is purely between Cyrodiilic lords, but most of them didn't have great claims to the Ruby Throne. Still, I couldn't find a list or anything of everyone involved, but I did find 3 main names. The first of the 3 is Tules? Thules? I'm gonna go with Tules. Tules the Gibbering. Now, his status as a witch warrior warlord didn't make him popular when he managed to take the Ruby Throne for a little bit of time, with a weirdo called Hurim as his minister. This is when the second name comes into the picture, Titus Mede I. Good old Titus was a Colovian warlord, and he started coming around with most of the Elder Council preferring Tules as the better option to become Emperor. But Hurim was the dude who convinced the others that Titus was probably better than the Emperor Witch Warlord over here. And when Titus took the Imperial City with only 1,000 men, somehow, I mean, did he use the Elder Scrolls equivalent of a Trojan horse? I mean, that's... Anyway, Hurim managed to convince people to see him as a liberator, rather than a conquering usurper. After dealing with Tules, the third name enters the picture, and leaves just as quickly, Eddar Olin. While Titus had the throne, and had technically ended the Stormcrown Interregnum at this point, Eddar knew that the Empire was weak, and Titus didn't have a lot of soldiers, so he attacked from the south, presumably from the Nibelheim Valley. But this time, Titus had 2,000 soldiers, and considering what he managed with just 1,000, it shouldn't be surprising to hear that Eddar's assault went pretty poorly, thus making Titus the first true leader of the Empire since the Septim Dynasty ended. Well, at least by right of conquest.
I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm better! I am better!
Although Huram was a bit of a weirdo whose allegiances flip-flopped like crazy, Titus Mede had to just keep him around, given how he swayed the Elder Council to his side. He had a lot of work to do to make the Empire great again, and he unfortunately needed Huram, having bigger things to worry about than his minister being a bit of a weirdo. One of those things was an uprising in Hammerfell, led by General Tarkar. But Titus is apparently a Giga Chad or something, because he rolls up to Hammerfell without his army, sees Tarkar and says, I can take him, and hope he means in a fight, because Titus manages to win Tarkar over, allegedly by beating him in a duel, and this made Tarkar Titus's bromantic muse.
Romantic.
While Titus only inherited 7 out of the 9 countries of Cyrodiil and Skyrim as his empire, he went around building it back up, bringing Hammerfell, High Rock and the rest of Cyrodiil back into the fold. Things were looking good for Titus, and while he wasn't a Dragonborn and was basically a conquering usurper, his charisma, fighting skills and tactical prowess won him the empire, and it was careful to brand this as a continuation of the Third Empire and not the start of the Fourth. I guess this made his rule seem more righteous, but it should be noted that he made a lot of cultural changes to the Empire and is probably the reason why we have more of this Roman inspiration we see in Skyrim. Now, the whole Umbriel crisis thing happened during Titus's rule, but he didn't do a lot during it, and I'd rather cover that in a separate video. But all you really need to know is that Atropos, Titus's son, proved to be quite the hero and a good successor. While he saved the day, he gave the glory to somebody else. And it's important to know that Atropos would continue the path his father laid out and rule the Empire, and is probably responsible for greater change into this more Roman thing we see going on in Skyrim. We also know that Titus replaced the Blades as his bodyguards, probably because they let Uriel Septim and all of his sons die. He ended up replacing them with the Penitus Oculatus. But if you've played the Dark Brotherhood storyline, you know that these guys are much better than the Blades. They're probably a lot worse. Beyond Titus and his son Atropos, it isn't known what the Medes did until we get to Titus Mede II, who had a rough old time. Now, I'm assuming that between Atropos and Titus Mede II, the Empire was relatively stable, which just kinda shows you how unfortunate Titus Mede II really was. The Great War against the Thalmor, the White Gold Concordant, the Markarth Incident, the Hammerfell Rebellion, and Skyrim Civil War all happened under his rule. I mean, you could even put in the Dragon Crisis in there if you really want to. After his assassination, we could be looking at the end of the Empire in general, or at least the end of the Mede Dynasty. Obviously, this depends on who takes over after Titus Mede II, and I couldn't find out whether he had any heirs. I feel like there has to be some information somewhere, but if you guys know it, please let me know in the comments below. And knowing Cyrodiil's history with Dragonborn, our shouty guy could be the next emperor, and the reason why Skyrim stops its infighting with the Empire again, ushering in a new golden age. Or the Dragonborn could get stuck with Tentacles McGee for the rest of the time like Marak. Who knows? The future of the Dragonborn is just as clouded as the future of the Mede Dynasty, but at least you know it's past now.
And so the pack was born again as the walls of your Vesker, to rule in life and serve in death as the moonlight bound hunter. And so the pack was born again as the wolves of your Vesker, to rule in life and serve in death as the moonlight's dark